All right, you guys, so the second part, also study the quadratic equation, calculate the x-intercept, so we want to find the zeros. We're just missing a piece here, right? So I'm looking at the highlighted in blue question. If we have 18x squared plus 3x, we're missing that last piece. So I'm just going to put a 0 in there as a placeholder. Just like if we were dividing or multiplying or whatever, you need that 0 placeholder. So now I'm going to go ahead, start my box. There is a shortcut. If you want to know the shortcut or you know it, use it. If you want to know it, come and see me, but I'm just going to do it the long way here. 18x squared, 0 goes here. What that does is makes this top portion of our x 0, so that the two numbers I'm looking for to multiply together, if they give me an answer that's 0, one of them has to be 0. If they add up to be 3, the only number I can add to 0 to be 3 is 3. So it makes it pretty easy to figure out my numbers. So it doesn't matter where you put them. I'll put 3x here and 0x here. But here's the part that I want you guys to realize. If you have two zeros, like tic-tac-toe, if you have two zeros in a row, you just don't even need to worry about that. Okay, you can just cross that off. So actually, the only part we're going to factor is this part where we have these two numbers together. So I'm going to go ahead and take out 3x can actually go into both of these numbers. 3x times 6x gives me 18x squared, right? And 3x times 1 gives me 3x. So I actually only have these two things. So I have 3x, and I'll just put it by itself, times 6x plus 1. Okay, and to solve it, well, this one, look, I'll highlight it for you. This one, I'm not adding anything onto it. So the only way to make 3 times x 0 is to make x 0. So x sub 1, my first x value, is just 0. My second one, I'm going to go ahead and solve. 6x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides. Divide both sides by 6. And I get negative 1/6. So those are my two x-intercepts. I have solved this equation. Let's go on to the next question. All right, the next part of this, or the next question, it's not part of the same question, is parts A through C, given this function. Part A says, what are the x and y intercepts for this function? Well, to find the y-intercept, I don't have to do anything. I just look at this. The only number here that doesn't have an x part of it, of the term, my y-intercept is negative 90. So my y-intercept is negative 90. Okay. Now, I want to factor and solve for my y-intercepts, or for my x-intercepts. So it's the same thing. This one, though, you guys, I'm going to show you something neat, and we did this on the last test, but I noticed something that's going to make this a lot easier. I noticed that 3 can go into every single term. So before I start anything, I'm going to divide each term by 3. In order to do that, I need to keep 3 here. 3 just becomes my a. 3 tells me how fat this is, okay? 3x squared divided by 3 just gives me x squared. 3x divided by 3 just gives me, now I just have negative x. And negative 90 divided by 3 gives me negative 30, okay? So all I have to worry about factoring, the only thing I need to worry about factoring is just this inside part, and the other 3 stays on the outside, okay? So let's go ahead and factor this. I have x squared, negative 30. That becomes negative 30 here. And this becomes negative 1. So two numbers that multiply to give me negative 30 and add up to give me negative 1 are, let's see, 15 and 2, 10 and 3, negative 5, no, positive 5 and negative 6. Positive 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. And positive 5 plus negative 6 is negative 1. So I have positive 5x and negative 6x. Now I'm going to factor. Let's start here. I know that 5 can go to both of those numbers. It's the biggest number. 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. 5 times x is 5x. And x times negative 6, nope, I made a mistake somewhere. X times, negative 6 times 1x. And then x times x is x squared. Okay, that works. So I have in factored form, let's do this up here. This is now 3 times x plus 5 times x minus 6. Oh, and look at how easy. I can do this in my head. X sub 1 equals negative 5, and x sub 2 equals positive 6. So those are my x-intercepts, right? So I have now found my x-intercepts and my y-intercepts. Calculate the vertex. Show the vertex as an ordered pair. Well, you guys know how to do this. If I want to calculate the vertex, I know that the x value is the line of symmetry, and my y value is what I get when I put the line of symmetry back in. So what is halfway between negative 5 and positive 6? So my line of symmetry is equal to the average or the mean of negative 5 plus positive 6 divided by 2, which is equal to, let's see, negative 5 plus positive 1 is 1/2. Okay? So the x value of my line of symmetry is 1/2. Now I need to put that back into any one of the 3 equations I have up here. And I feel like the factored form, I'll highlight it in pink. I feel like the factored form is going to be the easiest one to use. So instead of 3 times x plus 5, I have 3 times 1/2 plus 5 times 1/2 minus 6. And I can enter that into my calculator. So I have, you've got to put it in just like that. 3 times 0.5 plus 5 parenthesis, parenthesis, 0.5 minus 6 parenthesis. Enter. Negative 90.75. Which makes sense because my y-intercept is at negative 90, so this is just a little bit below that, right? So if we had a little sketch here, let me give myself some room over here. If we have a little sketch, what this looks like is negative 5, positive 6, and then if this is negative 90, where it crosses, and this is 1/2, then negative 90.75 is my vertex. Okay? And it crosses the y-intercept and both of the x-intercepts. Oh, and that was part C. Use graph paper provided by your teacher. Remind me to hand that out to you guys to make a sketch of the parabola. Label the intercepts and the vertex. So x-intercept, vertex, and I know it's positive because the original, my 3 is positive, and x-intercept, and negative 90 is y-intercept. Cool? I think the equation on the test is going to be a little bit easier. Do I have time to move on to the next question? I think I do. So here's a table. Write a quadratic rule that represents. So what I'm looking at here is this 2, 0, and 4, 0. These are my x-intercepts. So what I'm going to do is write a factored form, which is a times x minus root 1 times x minus root 2. And the first part is really easy. Y equals a times x minus 2. And then the second one is x minus 4, right? Now, I don't know how fat it is yet, so I need to pick another. I'm going to highlight it in blue. I need to pick another point. Let's do 1 and 3. So everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put 1, and everywhere I see a y, I'm going to put 3. So 3 equals a times 1 minus 2, 1 minus 4. 3 equals a, 1 minus 2 is negative 1, parenthesis, 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So 3 equals a. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. Divide both sides by 3 to get a by itself, and a is just equal to 1. So it's just a regular parabola. It doesn't have, it's not too fat, it's not too thin. I get y equals 1 times x minus 2. This is the actual equation part. This is the answer. Times x minus 4. I will tell you, if, let's do an if. We look at, instead of 4 comma 0, let's pretend my x-intercepts were 2, 0 and negative 4, 0. Then, when I started my equation, I would have x minus 2, that stayed the same, but this would be x minus a negative 4. That's very important. I'll highlight it. It's very important. Minus a negative right here will give us, this is actually x plus 4. So if on the test one of the x-intercepts is a negative, that's what you need to make sure you remember how to do. Okay? I'm going to stop this video and start a new one for the next part of it.